first things first, Director of Cricket at London Spirit, what is it that attracted you to the role?
Well, a number of things really. Like being associated with a team in London is always good. It's a good city to be, and good city to be putting on sporting events. And obviously even more special here with Lords being the home of cricket and an iconic place that all coaches or directors of cricket or even players want to be associated with. So a number of things there. But look, it's an exciting time for the competition. A bit of a reset and a reboot, and looking forward to assembling some competitive squads and getting into the cricket in the summer.
You're also Director of Cricket at Royal Challengers Bangalore. You just had a terrifically successful 12 months, so congratulations on that. Can you explain a little bit about how your two roles, where the similarities lie, but also with the 100 being at a very different stage of its evolution to the IPL, and maybe where some of the differences may be as well?
Yeah, and it's pretty unusual. If someone's a football follower, they'll be wondering how can someone be a director of football or cricket for two different teams. I suppose the nature of cricket is you have relatively short competitions, seasonal, you follow the sun around a little bit, so that's the way things are, I guess. So it fits quite neatly in the calendar where the IPL takes place between March, April and May, a bit of downtime, and then you get into the 100 in sort of July, August time. So in terms of the actual schedule and how things fit together, there's no real clashes or anything like that, and it allows me to focus on two different projects. In addition to the competitions, you spend quite a lot of time trying to work out what you want to do with your squad, so player recruitment is really important. Both competitions have an auction, and that becomes a real priority for you to try and assemble your group. So look, there are a number of similarities in that both London Spirit and RCB, my two teams, they have men's and women's teams, but they're not part of multi-club groups, they're just single club franchises, so there isn't any other pull on my time. So I get to really focus on what it takes to bring success to, you know, my RCB role is just the men's team, so the men's team out there, and then over here, London Spirit, men's and women's. RCB,
of course, famously won the IPL for the first time.
That's right, yeah, for the men's team for the first
time. Men's team for the first time. London Spirit have never won the men's 100. They won the women's 100 in 2024. So how much of your job is very simple, just get out there and select a team that's going to win us the 100,
yeah,
men
absolutely.
and women?
Look, we're all involved in sport and certainly professional cricket because we want to win. So that's almost like it's a given. It's an obvious focus for us.
Yeah.
I've always been a bit of an advocate for like how you win is important as well. So I want us to play in a really exciting brand of cricket. I want us to be brave out on the field. And to play exciting and brave cricket, you've got to get things right off the field typically. So the types of support staff you recruit, the types of players you recruit, the way you set your team up, the tactics that you have, the environment you create, all of those things are really important so that you're well organised on the field and you're efficient with your performances, but it's also a brand of cricket that fans and the spectators really want to engage in.
Well, certainly is evident from the team that's been selected, or the squads that have been selected across both men and women's today, and your coaching staff as well. I mean, Jonathan Lewis, Heather Knight, Andy Flower. I mean, that ticks a lot of boxes, doesn't it? There's a lot of experience there. You've got playing, coaching, I mean, men and women. That must be a very definite approach from yourself and the team that put that team together.
Absolutely, and look, my role as Director of Cricket, overseeing both men's and women's, I'm very aware that I don't have much of a track record in women's cricket. You know, most of my background is in men's cricket. So, you know, securing somebody like Heather to come in as general manager in the department was really important because she'll be able to cover for the things that I'm probably not as familiar with. We've managed to recruit two excellent head coaches. Andy Flower's probably the most successful coach in international cricket. He's certainly probably got the best win ratio and competition win ratio in T20 franchise cricket. So brilliant to have got him on board. And then John Lewis is someone that I know really well from my previous world working with England when he and I worked closely together. He's obviously done the England women's head coach role as well, so has an existing relationship with Heather. So we're really happy with the coaching staff that we've got in place. And look, that goes for the wider support staff. You know, a big emphasis of ours through these winter months has been establishing with a blank canvas new coaching teams and new support staff, and that's taken a lot of energy, and we're in a good place with that. As you've seen with the announcements, our attention has moved to the player side of things now, and we've announced some direct signings today across men's and women's teams, and it's nice to get those on board as well, and all set for the auction.
I'll finish with the players. They're the ones that essentially are going to decide the success. I've had 5 years of the 100. Obviously, the T20 cricket has been going on for 20 years or so, but bit more actually, 25 years approaching. When you are putting together your player list, the players that you want to bring into London Spirit, do you differentiate between the statistics that come from 100 cricket and T20 cricket when coming to a decision about a player?
You broadly treat T20 and 100 stats as one.
Yeah.
If you were to narrow it down just to 100 statistics, you probably have sample size issues then. It just isn't enough of it. Certainly not played all year round. So you have to treat those two things sort of together. I guess the trickier thing is probably, using franchise data from other leagues in very alien conditions. So, for example, if you were to use statistics from the Big Bash, you look at the size of the boundaries and the types of pitches, that's quite different to over here. So you do have to factor in some validity and reliability kind of benchmarks across your sort of data set. But in general, you're just treating T20 stats like 100 stats when you're assessing. But in addition to the numbers, you're also looking at scouting information. I'm a firm believer of a happy medium between what the eye see and what the numbers tell you. So you want a real balance there. So our coaches, our scouts, our analysts are all working pretty hard for us to arrive at the sorts of signings that we've announced today.
I know I said that was the last question, but something's just come into my mind, so apologies. But you are selecting players. Let's take the example of Jamie Overton. So Jamie Overton will play for London Spirit from the back end of July to the middle of August, right? But even moving aside his England commitments, he plays for Surrey, and he'll be playing for Surrey throughout April, May, June.
Well, he'll be at the IPL in April.
Okay, so he'll be at the IPL, but he will essentially be bookending his Surrey appearances. Will be bookending the London Spirit appearances. When he is signed and playing for London Spirit, do you have anything in position where you essentially, because Surrey want him to keep fit, right? Or they want to be keeping an eye on whatever indicators that they keep an eye on, much more than I. But is there some kind of collaboration or is there some kind of communication between, say, London Spirit and Surrey? I'm just using that as an example. So that Surrey can just keep a check, or whatever county can just keep a check on the fitness or how their player is going through official avenues rather than just messaging the player himself.
Absolutely right. When I think back to one of my previous roles working with England when I was performance director, a big part of my job was being the point of contact for all of the national players who obviously have their sort of day-to-day careers with the counties. So I know the value of communicating effectively well. It's early days in this relationship, so we've only just signed players and announced them now. But as we move closer to the season, we'll have to do a lot of communicating with counties, but also other franchise teams to make sure that players turn up in a really good place. But then equally, we look after them and hand them back in a really good place as well. So you're always communicating with national teams, national governing bodies, franchises, domestic teams. That's the way of the world right now.